you very much. Yeah, I think, BB's great. I actually had the song now for quite a few months, actually. Yeah, I wrote it with Nick from Digital Farm Animals, who's also one of the collaborators. And we realised that it just, to really drive the emotion, it'd be great to have a female on the track. And then I think someone from the label sent it to BB, and obviously her vocal's just undeniable. She's so good. Yeah. I mean, when I go into songwriting, there sometimes, especially when we're kind of looking for a single, sometimes some of the writers are kind of writing in that vein where it feels a little fairy tale and it feels not really that believable. And for me, yeah, it's all about honesty and being as real as possible. I don't think you can be too honest. I mean, 'cause there's always ways that you can kind of say things without saying it that specific, It's never going to sound anything like this, because I'm a northerner, right? So from England, north of England. Grew up with bands like Arctic Monkeys and Oasis. Now, obviously, my music's not going to sound like that, but I've been taking a lot of lyrical reference because they talk so matter of fact to the point, and it's not glossed up, and it's not like, glitz and glam. Very real and honest. So I've been taking inspiration. I think it's also important when you go into a session that you try and let things happen as organic as possible. You can't go into a session and say, today I want to write a really slow ballad that hopefully sounds like a single, because you've got no chance. You're better off if you just kind of have a thing that you want to talk about and let it just happen organically in the room, because I feel like if you go searching for something, especially with a song, that's just the time where you kind of get writer's block and hours and hours are going by, because you're thinking too specific, where you've got to kind of just let the process kind of take. Honestly, everything is like a learning process for me at the moment, because of course, we've done a heck of a lot with One Direction, but everything feels different now, you know what I mean? It really does. Like even an interview, for example, when there was 4 or 5 of us in an interview, you could all essentially, not deliberately, but you could all essentially play a little bit of a role. And my role would often be to kind of stop it from being so serious and throw a joke in every now and then. Now, I can't spend all interviews doing that now, otherwise people just think I'm an idiot, you know what I mean? So, all these things that are kind of new to me that feel like I'm learning on the job a bit, but it makes it exciting, So much. I think from traveling the world and meeting a lot of different people from different backgrounds, it just gives you really good perspective for everything. And I just feel like naturally I often kept my friends from where I'm from in Doncaster. I brought them out and tour a lot, and that was very important for me, because obviously I have this thing, you can't be, as a celebrity, you can't surround yourself with other celebrities all the time, because of course then you're going to believe the hype. But I get these things from when I'm with my friends from back home. Maybe one of my friends is struggling on his standard job, and maybe he's just lost his job, and it keeps me in touch with real life, you know what I mean? And it's so easy to lose that high position, but I think it's so fundamentally important to keep your head screwed on, Nice. I think it was like, because all the locations we chose obviously looked really cool as well, it was like a glorified version of my hometown, so I think she got a little bit of the good side of it. Which was nice. And yeah, I think it was just also nice for me to show the fans different places I used to hang out as a kid, because honestly I spent my life talking about how much I love Doncaster, where I'm from, but now they can actually, instead of just hearing the word, they can actually associate with some images, I suppose.
Started off as a coincidence, and I realised, and we kind of flagged it and wondered, is it a problem that a lot of them finish in you? But actually, I kind of like it,
Yeah.
and definitely, across the story of the album, it makes sense. And also, it's a nice little reference maybe to the fans as well, kind of give them that feel. So, yeah, I think it's one of those, it started off as coincidence, then I was like, okay, maybe we can play into this. Yeah. Actually, I'm not just saying this, I was really excited for people to hear this single,
Nice.
Miss You, because I'm really happy with the sound of it. And yeah, just in general, there's so many more like live elements, and there's loads more guitar, and that's important for me. So I'm happy about that. There are some ones that I can't get too specific, but there's some pretty, there's one ballad in particular. It's pretty emotional, pretty raw. I've got a feeling they might like that one.
Nice.
Just in general, I'm just excited for them to just hear the album and listen to my lyrics, really, because I feel like hopefully they learn something about me from those lyrics. I think this is a good advert for the album, and like I said, this is more in line with like my references growing up and stuff like that. You know, it's good doing the Steve Aoki and the BB Rexa songs because it meant I could go a little bit outside of my genre and, you know, dance and a little bit more urban with BB from a production style. I mean, so it's nice now to be out on my own and just be like, this is my sound and this is where I want to be. So it feels good. I wrote the song with Nick from Digital Farm Animals, and it was, I mean, we had an idea that it was a good song maybe at the time, but it was something that was maybe a little different to what I was used to singing, maybe not necessarily completely melodically, but more the way sonically it feels a little bit different to how I imagined. So I had to live with it for a while. And then, like, just the more I played it, I just became so addicted to listening to the song. And it became more apparent to me that to really drive the concept home and the emotion home, it'd be great to have a female on the track with me. So we tried... We didn't try anything else, but we had a couple of ideas that were, like, thrown around, and nothing was really that exciting to me. And then somebody sent BB from the label the song, and she loved the song and she vocaled the song. We got it back, and it was just an absolute no-brainer. I mean, she sounds so amazingly cool on the record.
Yeah, she really does, man.
But also, what I was looking for is really driving that emotion home and the concept. And I think, you know, it's got to feel believable. And I think she really, really owned it. I think as with any album, it's important to have, you know, a core identity to it, and I think definitely there is a big chunk of songs that feel like they're from the same family, but then there are other songs on there that kind of like the Steve song give a different feel and a different atmosphere. But I had this idea, and I don't know how realistic it is to do it in like today's world, but a lot of these songs I've written tell a story chronologically, so I'd love to be able to play the album through and you maybe grasp some kind of understanding in my last 3 years. Yeah, that was a massive inspiration to me. I mean, it's really what got me into music. When I was about 14, I got the Bullet in a Bible DVD, live DVD.
So
and it's so amazing, that show, and I was captivated by the whole performance and feel of it. I mean, that DVD anyway feels so epic. And yeah, I think it definitely, there are influences that I live with. Like, for example, because of that, there's every now and then you'll hear it on certain words. I might sing with a slight American twang to my voice just because I was so obsessed with Green Day when I was younger. And do you know what? It's just one of those things. I find it fascinating that two people can enter... I always get in this situation. You can enter a room with someone, maybe like me grandma. I'll enter a room and she'll go, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's such a mess." And I'm looking around thinking this is tidier than I've ever lived in. You know what I mean? I just one of those things. I'm very, very untidy, yeah. And it's an awkward one, because when you are untidy, you know, and it irritates some people being untidy, it's an awkward one because it doesn't irritate me at all, you know what I mean? Just the one thing that I don't miss. That's hard. Well, from travel, I mean, it's kind of the same here, but from travelling all the time, I love British rubbish food.
Right.
Not necessarily rubbish, but I'm talking, it's not good for you. I'm talking pie and mash kind of gear. You can't get that when you're, you know, doing touring all over. And I'm a little bit fussy with food, right? So, you know, there's always very nice posh restaurants everywhere we go, but I can't really get into that kind of vibe. For a start, I never have the attire for it. I've never dressed for a posh restaurant. But also, yeah, just the food, sometimes I struggle with. That's why I've literally been to McDonald's everywhere in the world. Do you know what? I've answered this question similar to this. If I was never in the band and I was watching everyone now, the music that I would be most drawn to as a listener from my preference would probably be Niall.
Nice.
And I love that. I do love Slow Hands. I think it's wicked. Yeah, he sounds really cool in it as well, though. I've met Harry before, actually. Weirdly, it was actually after like a charity football game over there with Soccer Aid. And we had a few drinks at the bar, and he just turned up, actually. It was a really random one. I don't know, I feel like I've got a lot to say like for someone like that, but I mean, it was one of those, you know, surreal experiences where I was just like, this is pretty crazy.
That's right, yeah. It's great. I mean, it's always an honour to be asked to play something like that, you know what I mean? But super nerve-wracking. You wanna do good, obviously, and be a good representation of yourself and all that. And you can hear a pin drop in the room, like it is. It's not exactly a party in there, you know.
Yeah.
And, it's quite serious doing, which is fair news, but a lot of suits in there. But it was good. It was really good fun. And then meeting them after was again a surreal experience. I got to bring my bands on that I performed with the live band, so yeah, it was nice. But I had quite a few jobs when I was younger, not very good at keeping the job when I was younger either, because it takes a while when you're young to learn the concept of responsibility and having to turn up to work and all that. Nervous as well, obviously going back to the show, there's a certain amount of like nerves, and also you feel that nostalgia from when we were contestants, you know, being there and stuff like that. But it's always an honour to be asked to play, and I always feel pretty good about myself going back actually. Yeah, it's just kind of a proud moment. Well, I think what's nice about having someone like Kevin on the X Factor, Kevin himself, is that it brings a lot of musicality to the show, and even just seeing him play his guitar, and some of the creatives and the screens, and the song choices, just in general, it's a cool tone for the X Factor, and I think it's nice to see. Yeah. This is the guy that I keep an eye on, called James Cherry, who's really interested. He's in Sign of Mama. Produces and writes everything himself, so yeah, I like that side of things. I mean, that's what makes the X Factor so amazing, is that, you know, it grants opportunities to people that will never get those opportunities in reality. So that's a good thing to people.
So I have waited for a while, other than the little ones and that silly one that I mentioned. I haven't really had any for a while, so I'm not necessarily itching. I could just always, like literally, I could always go to the tattoo shop. The album. Yeah, so it became apparent to me when because I've got maybe 75% of the album done, right? By the way, this figure, each interview, I've just been changing. It's been 50, 55, 65. Anyway, I think one stage was 85, so that was a great day. About 72% done. But it became apparent to me that it was kind of telling a story naturally anyway, just from the stuff that I'd been writing. And in general, the stuff is very, very personal and very honest. Maybe more honest than people are normally willing to go in, like, pop. I just think there's a lot of songs that describe this Hollywood amazing relationship. And for good or for worse, it always sounds a little Hollywood and a little kind of film scripty and kind of not really. Do you understand what I'm saying? Exactly. So I think, you know, from growing up and listening to bands like Oasis and Arctic Monkeys, they say it so matter of fact, and that, you know, to me that's really exciting. So hopefully, although they do know a lot about me, hopefully the fans will learn something more from kind of getting to know. It's probably the last 2 or 3 years of my life, yeah. And I mean, I've got maybe another 2 songs to fit in, but I have to make them fit chronologically, you know what I mean? So I have to have a moment in those 3 years that I want. Looking back at the situation, having understanding of it. But the songs are written in present tense, you know, so it's as if it was there. So, like, you know, at the start of the album, it starts, and there's one song that's kind of up-tempo, and it's about going out one night after the other, you know, being able to go, do you know what, I'm going to go out again today. And then, as a contrast, you know, right at the end of the album, there's a really, like, honest, sad track kind of reflecting about the whole time and how wrong it was. So, hopefully, I mean, it's not going to be too deep. It's not going to be like, you know, like an evening with Louis Tomlinson, get to know all his thoughts.
You're right.
But you'll definitely get something from it. Hopefully, I mean, from the fans' perspective, I just want them to be able to understand more of who I am as an artist as well as a person. If I'm being honest, well, this is me being pedantic. I didn't write this song from personal reference, right? Because this song is talking about a relationship of 2 people that maybe shouldn't be together. You know, back to you, is talking about maybe it's not the most practical thing and they don't know why, but they keep finding their way back. That's absolutely not me. However, to work on the chronological thing, it kind of does work on the album, but that song in particular is probably the least personal across the album. I wrote that, it was an opportunity for me to, instead of being so heavily involved, like emotionally with it. It was nice to have a song that I could write from reference as a point of like, we've all got friends like that in those kind of relationships, you know what I'm saying? So it was kind of cool to be able to write from their perspective, because the rest of the album is all kind of loaded on me, really.
Yeah, no, I'm
very good reviews, isn't it?
Amazing reviews. I'm very, very excited for him. Very proud of him. I mean, it's amazing to see. You know.
Is it something that you?
Well, I just woke up. It's freezing cold. I just woke up to it cold. Found out that turned telly on and golf's on, so I know it's not going to be a great day today. I mean, you know, I've got to be careful because Niall absolutely loves the golf, but I've got no time for it. No. I do not get it. I don't get it. It's very slow.
I don't get it on.
Yeah, I'm really excited. The X Factor, obviously, naturally it's mixed emotions going back, like super nervous, as well as really, really excited, you know what I mean? You want to be a good advert for the show, and you want to do right by everyone kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to going back. I'm really excited about the song itself and performing it, and I'm performing with a live band and stuff like that. So I'm excited. It's good. And the raw variety performance was crazy, as surreal experience as ever, you know. I always feel a little bit out of place in those moments, but especially when you have to do the meet after, you know, I'm thinking I don't have much small talk in general anyway. Never mind to this kind of clientele, you know. But it was actually really nice. I got to bring my band on with me. I kind of slide them on last minute because I was like, I'm going to be stood like on my own looking silly, so lads, you're just rushing on with me. So I managed to get them to meet Will and Kate as well, which was pretty cool. Thing, because you know you don't want to say the wrong thing, and obviously raw variety, my new single, it's there's a few swear words in it, right, which is a whole new game for me. Now I have learned the explicit version, shall we say, and then when it came down to performance, twice in my sound check I swore, and I was like, honestly, this is gonna be horrible if I end up swearing in front of the Royals, but luckily I pulled it off. I was nervous about that.
Yeah, you don't want to swear.
Okay, so I'm loads more excited about the sonic and the way it sounds, this song, because I think that's what was good about doing the collaborations, you know, Steve Aoki, BB Rex. With the Steve song, I could, you know, branch off to something a little bit more dancey, and then BB, something a little bit more urban. I'm talking production-wise. So it's been really nice with this song to just like put, you know, loads of heavy guitars on there and bring the live elements back, and it's got a kind of big like anthemic pop chorus, and I've been missing that kind of structure really, and it's kind of a similar structure production wise that we used with the band, you know, guitar driven pop. And I'm really excited about it. I'm really confident about the sound of the song, and I'm really confident singing it. So I'm in a good place. I'm really excited for everyone to hear it.
All right.
We kind of share that, really. Yeah, sometimes you take the front.
Sometimes I take the front. You know, if he's a bit tired, I'll go.
Yeah.
Line and push him along.
Yeah. But you know, we're both quite generous to each other, so we think that, you know, sometimes he should get to do what he wants to do, to go first.
It's a bit of give and take.
Yes.
No.
In terms of what I'm most proud of, it's probably the stuff that I've written for this record, just because I've really kind of opened up and been super honest about it. But in terms of like something that sticks out to me as a writer, we wrote a little bit on the first two albums, but then me and Liam in particular on the third album and the fourth was kind of like really into it. And I remember one of the first songs we wrote in this writing group, which was me, Liam, Julian Burnett, John Ryan and Jamie Scott, and we started to develop what then became Midnight Memories, and it was just a real magic moment in the room, and something that I'd not really felt as a writer before. It all kind of just happened very quickly in the space of like 45 minutes, and then we had this really great chorus and great song idea. So that'll all... Yeah, the most important thing to me is that the album is received well, not by critics or anyone who don't like. I'm not like none of that. It's just that it received well by the fans and the people that really care, you know, because it's very apparent to me of how important they are to everything, and you know, as much as I can reinforce that as possible, it's really important, because they, you know, we all do this together, and they are also the reason why I'm confident enough to do something like this on my own. the other two are a bit smaller, yeah. I'm sure back in old interviews, he used to whip them out in interviews.
Oh.
No, I wish I could say I had 3 testicles and then exciting like that, but no, unfortunately not. Definitely, I haven't seen it yet, but as I keep saying... I'm getting old, it feels like I'm getting old, right? 27 I am. How is Louis Tomlinson? Yeah, I'm doing alright, thanks, I'm doing alright. It's a random Google one. Oh, what does Google? Come to tour. Come to tour and I'll meet you then, hopefully. I eat a lot of rubbish food. Probably burgers. I eat a lot of McDonald's, but in terms of the ultimate burger, it probably has to be In-N-Out. That is a question I won't be answering. My number's got out quite a few times. I like my own privacy, so unfortunately, I'm not going to do that. Right, you feel at the end there. I got 2 dogs. I got a golden doodle and I got a labradoodle, Bruce and Cliff. They're quite different dogs, the 2 of them. Bruce is like proper well behaved, good lad, proper like, almost like a pretty dog, you know what I mean? It's Cliff, he's big, he's clumsy, he's a thief, because you know, everyone says dogs shouldn't go anywhere near chocolate. And I think maybe 2 or 3 Easters ago, he stole a full Easter egg, which I was worried about. But I found out after, I think as long as they don't eat their body weight in chocolate, they're alright. So he lives to fight another day. Well, you can't see that, but it says, is Louis Tomlinson on tour? Not yet, glad you asked. About to go on the road next year. Tickets are on sale. Yeah, my local club, Doncaster Rovers, where I'm from, I was lucky enough one year. I mean, it was a bit of a PR thing on their end, but also a fairly decent football player. They signed me onto the books for a year. I was on the back of the programme every game day. Squad number, which I got tattooed on the hand, 28. It was a good time to be around. I mean, in England we're doing all sorts at the moment, like vegan sausage rolls, which feels like a contradiction to me. I'm not a vegan, no, but respect to everyone who is. I'm right-handed, believe it or not. What more have I got to say about am I left or right-handed? Actually, what? I suppose it depends who you ask, really. I think so. I like to think so. Yeah. I love red. Often try and incorporate red into pretty much anything I do, really, creatively. And also my football club, Danny Rovers, they play that. So. You know, it's another one of those songs that's saying, you know, regardless of what happens in life, you just got to try and be hopeful. You know? That's William. Don't use it that often. I imagine some of my fans know. That's my middle name. Bit of trivia for you. I ain't ever been in a movie, right? Other than the One Direction movie. Started now. Probably me, Ginger Mate, Ollie, goes everywhere with me. Lives with me most of the time. Hears the songs first most of the time. Went to school with him, known him for like 10 years now, 12 years or something. It's mad. I was an X Factor judge. I've also been on the show as a contestant. I was in this band called One Direction. They were pretty big. But Miss You was originally written, I was bouncing between different parties and all the nightlife that LA has to offer. And there was moments where I felt like I was kind of just going along with it without really enjoying it so much, and that's kind of what that song was about. With Donny Rovers, if we're going far back, Tickle Juniors, Sunday League team, local area. It was the first team that I joined, called Tickle Juniors. I think they're still going. In fact, I got a mildly cheeky email from them pretty recently, asking for some funding. So I'll be in touch. Don't have anything more to say about it. If you haven't been, you should go. Great holidays. I absolutely love where I come from. Great people where I'm from, and a great night out. So. LA and London, and also try and get to Doncaster as much as I can. Quite a drastic jump, quite a different jump. It's just forever hot here in LA. You know what I mean? I was just talking about that. We're about to get into November and it's red hot, and I'm just a true Brit. You know what I mean? When it's winter, I like cold. Here, doing this little piece to camera for you. When I did the X Factor, basically, long story short, the judges see thousands of people, you know, across however many days. So I wanted to be at the start of the auditions. I started queuing up at like 4 a.m. Because I wanted to be one of the first to be seen, because I thought I had a chance there. Christmas Eve, 1991. Good time to have your birthday. Everyone's in a good mood. Starts March next year. Goes all the way through to June, July. Super excited to come on tour. I feel like I've been waiting your solo career for this moment, so pretty excited about that one. You're talking about when I started with the band, I got our first tour, I did a cover of Amy Winehouse, Valerie. Maybe you're asking when I might sing that again. The answer is no. I performed it a few times. It came out
Off the top of my head, I think 2017. So my first performance for that was on the X Factor. You know, I'd never done a solo performance on my own, and the X Factor was always a big performance for us as a band. So to come back and do that on my own was both exciting and nerve-wracking. That's the last one, right? Louis Tomlinson. Louis Tomlinson, cute again. Not sure how to react to this one, other than saying thanks. Look, that I have many of, quite a few stupid ones. I'm trying to look at which one the latest one was. Probably this horrible one that I got done on the X Factor. Even straight lines. Pretty bad. Well, I've got blue eyes, but I'm not gonna lie, my eyes do slightly change colour. I'm wearing a blue top, they look a bit bluer. Like looking like today, I don't know. But normally blue. I ain't had that many of them. To be honest, I've had like 3 in rotation for the last like 9 years. What's pretty funny about my hair though is, you know, from being in a band like One Direction, I've almost forgot how to do my own hair. It's pretty tragic that, innit? You know what I mean? I'm lucky to have someone doing my hair, but then there's times where I go on a night out and I'm looking at it thinking, I'll be honest, I don't even know how to start. So it's put a cap on. That is the band I am in, was in, whichever way you look at it. Don't really know what else to say about that. Good time in my life. Hopefully we come back. Name of one of my songs, so I assume you bang that into Google and my song will just pop straight up. Give it a listen if you want. Did it with Bieber Rexa. I did the music video in Doncaster, where I'm from, so again, that was special for me. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, man, it's definitely hard, and it took me, a good year, 18 months. Anyway, if I could speak, if that's all right, love. When I spent a long time trying to find exactly what my sound was, and to be fair, when I first went out on my own, I wasn't even sure that I was definitely going to make a solo record, you know, and kind of one thing led to another. And I kind of had to learn on the job who I am really as an artist, you know, because I'd only really looked at myself as a little in a band. So all of a sudden I had to look at myself as an artist, as an individual. So that took a little bit of time. If I'm being honest, I just wasn't ready for the band to go on a break, to be honest. It surprised me to a certain degree. So I didn't have any planning for this or anything like that. I think I just thought that I was going to carry on writing for other people and not necessarily for myself. And then, you know, like I'm sure a lot of people in this situation, I did a bit of writing, I liked some of the songs I was writing, I thought, yeah, I might as well have a crack with this. Who's got the phone? I think it's quite evident, you know, even in my performance or even in situations like this, that I just feel a lot more comfortable with what I'm doing now. I think because what I knew with One Direction was, you know, chasing radio and getting as big a moment as possible. It's kind of all I really knew, so that was my expectations, albeit unrealistic. I didn't know that, you know, so I kind of had to work it out and kind of making something that was safe and that I thought was going to fit to radio, and especially with that Steve song. You know, I love and respect Steve, and I love that song. It's a special song to me, but sonically, never really. I can't relate to those sounds, you know. So in the end, I just thought if I'm going to do this, you know, and it takes up a lot of my time, obviously, I need to do something I really love. So I feel good about that. You know, I've learned a lot on the job, really, and that was one of those situations where I do think I had to go through that stage of writing, working with like specific producers that maybe weren't right for me now, but at the time I had to learn. I've always been pretty good at standing up for myself and getting my own way to a certain degree. I think what I've learned mostly about being out on my own, which is kind of an extension of what you just said, is I've learned to trust my gut more. And you know, I've said in a few interviews, there's a lot of opinion on a lot of people I've had to say about what they think. And I just got to stand strong and say, no, this is who I am. I've seen them live 2 or 3 times now, every time at a festival. But I think first festival I ever went to, which was Leeds Festival in England. Yeah, Vampire Weekend were playing there, I think. So amazing band, and that song Cousins. I always loved that from being young. I used to play it in near us, so that's great. And also just in general for the playlist, it's been really fun for me to kind of show the fans exactly what I like listening to. And you know, there's other people who've come up to me and said, I've never heard of this song before, this artist before, and you know, it's on your playlist and it's cool or whatever. And yeah, it's quite cool for me. I've always been amazed by Amy Winehouse, you know, incredible writer. And I often talk about a level of detail in the lyrics, because I'm a lyricist, I like the lyrics. And the level of detail that she goes into. I heard in a documentary that when something happens poignant in her life, she notes down all the detail around her, what she can see, what she can smell, what she's wearing, all these things. So you'll know that you come to write about it. And I just think that level of detail is what makes it so genius.
I'm not sure about unique to me. I'm always trying to be as conversational as possible. Someone like Alex Turner, I love his lyrics because, I like his lyrics because it's kind of conversational and almost sounds that you don't really hear on the radios where people want every single syllable to sound right. Well, I think more of a tribute than a cover, to be honest. We only ever covered Green Day songs. The set list existed of about 5 songs. We did it in rotation, you know what I mean, mixing between them. But that's actually where definitely where I got the hooked before. Well, yeah, I mean a little bit now as well, but when I was younger, I do like to shut off a bit, make people laugh. It's actually the song that closes the album. Only song on the album that I didn't write, so it gives a slightly different sound, a slightly different dynamic to it all, and I think I lose all the way. On the first listen, I mean, every now and then, more at the start, less now because I think they've learned from it. But I'd often get sent through management or label or different songs, and normally I like to be in the room. You know what I mean? I obviously like to have me right. Honestly, any more laughing? It was more musically than anything. The song really stood out to me, and I thought it almost worked as a nice little novelty. I've written the rest, and this one is, kind of slightly different style. I wish I could give you a more interesting answer than this. To be honest, I only really knew once I heard it. I didn't realise it because it's quite slow actually. I wrote this song about 2.5 years ago, maybe even longer now. Who's not been listening to any interviews today? I've said this about 20 times already. I wrote it about 2.5 years ago. I did it with Julian and John, who I'd done a lot of the One Direction stuff with. And I think I just wanted to be further on in the writing process so I could go boom, 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 just release my music more freely. I knew that was a good song. I wanted to get further on the writing before I got to this phase. Yeah, I have been asked this today and I've not had a good answer at all. And do you know what? I wish I had something more imaginative, and some people probably bullshit in this situation. Every single tour we did with Cram was incredible, and that goes without saying, but being in small rooms, when we were first in the band for the first 6 months, we did this little radio tour across Scotland. We played really tiny gigs, the smallest gigs we ever played, and we will all say they're some of our favourite shows. There's something really special about playing small venues, so yeah, I'm really excited. The experience that we went through was unique. The only people who can relate to that is, each of us. So I think we always have that love and respect for each other. And in the same way, we used to wind each other up in the band. And used to get on each other's nerves. I don't know, I think going into the band, feels slightly different now, but going into the band, I was the oldest. Even if the boys thought it or not, I always felt a little bit of responsibility, you know what I mean, on that level. And I think in those situations I've always been pretty approachable for Liam or any of the boys, to be honest, even if they need to chat or whatever. So I'm honoured that you said that though, it's fucking nice. Normally we're just in the last couple of months we won't speak to each other that often, but I'll ring him and we'll speak on phone for a good 3 hours. And cover everything to intertwine, obviously, and you're talking about some of the stuff in your work life, and you'll say the same kind of thing, and I think it's important, because at the end of the day, it's a crazy job what we do. I think, most of them have got a pretty rubbish storyline, and there's not many good. I think it's always important creatively to, not work too much, because, there's a limit to how much you can do, definitely. I think just be confident in what you do. I think sometimes, like writer's block, it can, if you have one day writing that's not very good, when you go in the next day and the next day is not very good, it can kind of snowball. I think it depends on the situation. It depends how long you've been working on writing. I did have a moment on this record where I did need to take a break from writing because I felt like I was writing every single day. It was a new concept every day, new lyrics every day. There's a lot to think about. I felt quality song. I can't think of anything specific. There's some lyrics in Champagne Supernova, Oasis. I'm allowed to say an Oasis song. That I think are really thought-provoking, really interesting. It sounds about how you relate to me, I'm not sure. But in general, it was more of a sound thing than a lyric thing. I spoke before, it was the second one I kind of fell out of love with music a little bit. I wasn't hearing a lot of stuff that I really loved. And then I found a really amazing playlist and started playing some of the older stuff that I used to like listening to. And Sam Fender is amazing in the way he sounds musical. It made it was really impressive. Like, this is how it's meant to be. So that probably explains.
to a certain degree, for like different reasons, Kill My Mind was that song, because I had to be brave and like be like, this is who I want to be. But to a certain degree, you know, from writing, especially the kind of stuff that, you know, we wrote in the band, that was kind of a bold step for me to say, this is who I want to be, really. So I'd say it was that song. I mentioned it today, and I like that we made it. I like that lyric that says, I don't know why they put on the songs when we're so young, we've done a pretty good job. I think it's quite thought-provoking, and I think fans hearing that, it's kind of nice to hear that, so...
I'm doing it on the side, yeah, since you said, yeah. It's been a big hit for me, actually. Yeah. I also, what bugs me a little bit about tattoos, and I got to tread carefully because you've got something about. The only thing that gets on my nerves about tattoos, I get having meaning to them, but some people come out with the most far-fetched description for tattoos, right? They'll have like a bird, right, like this. I say, why have you got that bird? And before you know it, you're talking about freedom, and you're talking, you know what I mean? And you're like, but really, you've just got it because it looks cool, you know? I think some people definitely obviously get really meaningful ones, that's nice, but you also get those people who try and find a meaning in a cool-looking tattoo, you know? Well, I've had some little ones, like I've got this one on my hand. I actually, funnily enough, got one as a dare on my arse. I remember exactly how it went down now, but yeah, I ended up with a penguin tattooed on my arse, which, you know what I mean, is the least sexy thing in the world, you know what I'm saying? To be honest, I have waited for a while, other than the little ones and that silly one that I mentioned. I haven't really had any for a while, so I'm not necessarily itching. I could just always, like literally, I could always go to the tattoo shop. Right, just quickly, I'll remember this, but just side note, I'm being serious. Next time I'm having an interview, I want to get a tattoo together. 5-10 minutes, but yeah. I don't know, honestly, I don't know what this is. So the album. Yeah, so it became apparent to me when I had, because I've got maybe 75% of the album done, right? By the way, this figure, each interview, I've just been changed. 72% done. But it became apparent to me that it was kind of telling a story naturally anyway, just from the stuff that I'd been writing. And in general, the stuff is very, very personal and very honest. Maybe more honest than people are normally willing to go in, like, pop. I just think there's a lot of songs that describe this Hollywood amazing relationship, and for good or for worse, it always sounds a little Hollywood and a little kind of film scripty and kind of not really. Do you understand what I'm saying? Growing up and listening to bands like Oasis and Arctic Monkeys, they say it so matter of fact, and that, you know, to me that's really exciting. So hopefully, although they do know a lot about me, hopefully the fans will learn something more from kind of getting to know. It's probably the last 2 or 3 years of my life, yeah. And I mean, I've got maybe another 2 songs to fit in, but I have to make them fit chronologically, you know what I mean? So I have to have a moment in those 3 years that I want. Oh, I mean, any of my fans will know, I spent, 18 months, 2 years of my life just kind of real different to how I'd been in the past, and just went out all the time, partying, drinking all the time, whatever. And then I kind of realised that I was a bit of an idiot during those times, and I found my way back to that's just one of the stories. And just in general, I think a lot of guys go through this, you almost feel, like you've got to go through that stage in your life, but that was never me. So it's kind of just telling that story, really, because some songs will make you feel like I was in the moment, and like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this, we're in the club, this is great, but you'll be able to feel there's an underlying kind of situation, have an understanding of it. But the songs are written in present tense, so it's as if it was then. So like, at the start of the album, it starts, and there's one song that's kind of up-tempo, and it's about going out one night after the other, and being able to go, do you know what, I'm going to go out again today. And then, as a contrast, right at the end of the album, there's a really, honest, sad track kind of reflecting about the whole time and how wrong it was. So, hopefully, it's not going to be too deep, it's not going to be something from it. Hopefully, from the fans' perspective, I just want them to be able to understand more of who I am as an artist as well. Yeah, but if I'm being honest, this is me being pedantic, I didn't write this song from personal reference, right? Because this song is talking about a relationship of 2 people that maybe shouldn't be together. Back to you. It's talking about maybe it's not the most practical thing, and they don't know why, but they keep finding their way back. That's absolutely not me. However, to work on the chronological thing, it kind of does work on the album, but that song in particular is probably the least personal across the album. I wrote that, it was an opportunity for me to, instead of being so heavily involved like emotionally with it, it was nice to have a song that I could write from reference as a point of like, we've all got friends like that and those kind of relationships, you know what I'm saying? So it was kind of cool to be able to write from their perspective, because the rest of the album is all kind of lonely. There's a couple of songs that maybe we could give to another artist. There's one song that I'm kind of waiting on at the moment that I'm really excited about. It looks like it's going to get taken by someone else. That's really exciting for me. You know, I really want to kind of prove myself really as a songwriter, so those kind of things are, you know, really important to me. So fingers crossed to get that song. I can't really say who it is. As an obvious note, Digital Farm Animals did an amazing, cool job on the production. I think anyone who listens to the track kind of stands out. It's so minimal and cool, and BB just absolutely smashed it on her vocals too. It's just one guy, although it's complicated because I think the manager was also a DJ as well. Anyway, that's irrelevant. This guy Nick, who's really cool, maybe 3-4 years older than me, but this is one thing that I think is difficult with music sometimes. He's so good at being minimal. Often people overcomplicate things and think about the science so hard, but he's very minimal in the way he works, and for me that's right on the street. So it's good. Especially being like a northern British guy. When another guy's looking at you, maybe he's recognised me, sometimes comes across a little bullshit, you know what I mean? You're thinking, what are you looking at? And then you might recognise me. There's definitely certain places, and by the way, it's always random. I could never go to the same place and say I never get recognised here, you know what I mean? So it kind of just happens on different days. I think it's harder to be incognito when, like, say I'm doing a radio tour in like New York, and then, you know, all the every detail's online. It's all exciting. I mean, exciting it's a difficult, it's just an impossible thing to be able to comprehend anyway. The fact that my hotel might be on Twitter and people might know where it is, you know, like, even something like that is a very hard thing to ever kind of comprehend or ever really understand, because it's about you as an individual. It's kind of crazy, but hey, they're amazing. So they quite recently, I mean, it used to be rare that someone would come up to me and say, look, I want a tattoo of a lyric or of whatever, and then, you know, it's kind of related to me or One Direction. But like quite recently, I'm just in kind of surge of it recently, like the last 3-4 months, a lot of people come up to me, and often, you know, there's kind of a lot of people to meet, so it's kind of quick fire. So before I know it, there's like this girl right in my face, and she's like, hey, write me a tattoo. And I'm like, okay, what? And she's like, I don't know. And then and I'm like, but to be fair, love, this is a lot of pressure for me. You're gonna have this on your body for the rest of your life, and you're just saying to me, write anything. You know what I mean? It's a difficult thing. So I normally just do my little signature X's smiley face, but I could write anything. I could quickly Google what a swear word is in Chinese and write that, and she might have it done. In its time, I am going to call the bluff. I mean, it's probably a little cruel, but I'm going to do it. But I've kind of got 2 dates in mind. There's a date, if I wanted it at the end of the year, I'm going to have to rush a little bit, and I don't really want to do that. I want to, and who knows, I might be in a position where after I finish this promo, I'm going to write in that I feel like I'm in a good enough place to. But I want to be 1,000% sure before I do that. So either at the end of this year or the start of next year. A little bit, yeah. I think it's still going to take time, you know. It's just, I think what helped me definitely is, you know, having Steve there at the start and having BB here now for the performance. I mean, don't get me wrong, before Jimmy Fallon, like a week ago, I was really nervous. I actually, you know, I started off the song, sat on the drum kit. Now, I warned our drummer that I might leave behind a little poo. Luckily I didn't, luckily I escaped that. But I was so nervous. But actually, for one of the first times being on my own, I did get a really good feeling after, a real kind of sense of accomplishment. So I do feel more confident going into teen shows. And let's just be honest about this stuff, you know what I mean? I think a lot of artists will say, oh yeah, I'm super confident, and strip it back, I'm not sure if they are, you know. It's always just better. Tell you what it is. I mean, I've always felt like to a certain degree I've got a point to prove a little bit, right? So in those moments, it was like, you know, like say, for example, there was a song in One Direction called No Control that I sang the chorus on, and I was always really excited about it. The fan reaction was great. But on that song, I was so nervous right up until my part. So now, it kind of just, a little bit, it kind of just feels like that on stage across the whole thing. So I got to get used to feeling really comfortable and, you know, owning the performance, which is something that is going to take time for me. Because also, it's easy for, like, let's say a rock star or a rapper, because they think they are the number one coolest, sickest, best looking guy in the world, and they believe it. Of course, it's easy to carry that on stage, whereas if you don't think you're the coolest individual in the world, you kind of got to, you know what I mean? You got to work on the craft and work on what looks right and feels. I think it's important, yeah, definitely. I mean, we're all just real people. Some of us get lost along the way, but I haven't. Because that's why actually I wouldn't call it stage fright. It is all anticipation. You know, there is some times where I'm just thinking of a million different scenarios, but actually, then from the minute I go on stage, it's like, it's kind of a stupid analogy, but you know, you can be driving on a motorway and you've been going 5 minutes and you're just on autopilot and you're just driving, obviously you concentrate, but you're just on autopilot. And sometimes that happens when I'm on stage, you know, I go into it and think, right, I need to sing this part like this, phrase this like this, make sure I sing this part with my chest voice strong, blah, blah, blah. And it just all goes out the window. You're literally you're not really there, you're just in the moment, you know, it's pretty crazy.